You are about to listen to the Neverdaily podcast.
This is the biggest thing since the Zapruder film.
So many questions.
I don't have any answers.
But please don't stop listening
to the Neverdaily podcast.
Welcome to the Neverdaily podcast, where if we're using my son's logic, when we were young, when he was young, I was younger too, but when we were both younger, he was 7 or 8. He always wanted to go to this place called Circus Tricks. And Circus Tricks was just a giant warehouse that they had converted into trampolines, and the whole floor of the place was just trampolines. And so, like,
I should call it Tricks and Tramps.
I didn't think of that. Different demographic, probably. But he's also kind of an absolutist, holds grudges because he's a rules minder and stuff, and so it's a social thing. We've basically worked through it. He doesn't really do it anymore. But this show's brought to you by he went there, and one time he saw a kid like sprain his ankle, and then it quickly converted in his mind into that he broke his leg. And then anytime someone would bring up Circus Tricks after that, he's like, everybody breaks their leg there. So to this day, whenever he's like absolute about something, he'd be like, everyone dies when they eat McDonald's. I'll say, oh, you mean like Circus Tricks where everybody breaks their leg? And he's like, shut up. This episode's brought to you by that conversation.
Tricks and Tramps.
Tricks and Tramps.
Where at?
In Nampa, Idaho.
Tricks and Tramps from Nampa, Idaho.
Are your cities around? See, here's something that is uncomfortable to talk about, but it's true. We as humans are tribal, right? And we live by people that we are, that we share some sociological similarities with, or familial, or whatever. So where I live, you've got the main town, which is a whole, melting pot, as most metropolitan areas are. But you get outside of that, and the cities themselves kind of become small countries of sorts. Like Nampa has a very, very high Hispanic population. And then if you move out a little bit further, you've got Caldwell, which has a higher Hispanic population, also a lot of gangs. Here it works backward. Downtown doesn't have necessarily gangs, but you go out, Caldwell has they bring the gangs from the South Americas, though, like the LM 9 or 13s or whatever those guys.
Yeah, MS-13.
MS-13, yeah, those gangs, they're the real deal. And so, but we kind of get surrounded, and then you've got a town over here that's just white farmers, and then you got another town over here which is, well, you go up north, you used to have a town that was just literally owned by the Aryan Brotherhood.
Well, I think Tracy tried to join MS-13. Oh. And they were like, no, lady, you don't understand.
She was like, is the 13 how many years I've been diagnosed, or what? They're like, you got
I thought
11.
This was a gang for people that had multiple sclerosis.
And they're like, you have 11 more years and then you can join.
Yes, you have to have multiple sclerosis for 13 years.
And then the haunting part is at the end of the phone call, they say, good luck. Oh. Is it also insensitive?
The good point, the benefit is that a lot of the people are actually in wheelchairs before they get jumped in.
I really feel like she should be here to either
gonna
A,
listen to
enjoy
this.
this,
We
or
love
B,
you so much,
defend it.
Tracy.
Yeah. I think somebody should get her on the horn and say we're talking about we're talking about you. Please join. Anyway, this episode is also brought to you by the Multiple Sclerosis Society, where you can join and not join, but you can support and help them out.
And ZipRecruiter. What if MS-13 used ZipRecruiter? Looking for somebody capable of murder? Well polished in grams and pounds.
Here's a crazy thing.
And can read a map.
Have you ever looked up like the code words that people have used on Craigslist to buy things? They call it they literally call it the forbidden language.
You mean like M for M?
No, better than that. Like they would call you a rube if you felt like you were using code words by doing M for M.
Oh.
No, check this out. If you're on Craigslist and you say you want 40 roses, that's an ad for a prostitute saying she's charging $40.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's why that prostitute yelled at me.
If you get on Craigslist
He was
and
like, what am I supposed to do with all these flowers?
If you get on Craigslist, if you know someone on Craigslist and they want or are giving French lessons, they don't really mean the school kind of French. French lessons is code for prostitution.
Okay.
And if they say that without an interpreter, if you find one where it says without an interpreter, they want to have unprotected sex.
I got a question.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to post on Craigslist if you're genuinely just wanting to give out French lessons? you gotta
screwed.
You gotta
you can't.
Looking to suck some dick.
Yeah.
You got to post that, and they're like, "Oh, this is giving out French lessons."
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. If you see the name Tina Turner on Craigslist, just guess. What do you? if you find a reference when you see the name Tina Turner, what do you think they're talking about?
You're looking to do drugs in a bathtub?
If you search for Tina or Tina Turner on Craigslist, you might end up ordering crystal meth.
Huh.
Yeah. The list is as long as, I don't know, something super long of code words for Craigslist. It's crazy. You should look them up sometime. And I wasn't even going to bring that up, but I
just think it really fucks over people who are just genuinely trying to give out language lessons.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Similar, Facebook Marketplace. Everyone that tries to use Facebook Marketplace to sell legitimate items is screwed over by Facebook Marketplace. Because it's the worst thing ever made. It's so bad. It's so... I have a question for you guys.
I have an answer, maybe. And if I don't, I'll make one up.
Okay. This is for everybody on the show. So what do we got? We got J for Jess, C for Chase, K for Kent, S for Sam, SJCK. It sounds like a rifle. Like a I can't think of anything. How do I do that? Hey Kent, Jess, Sam, hey Kent, Chase, Jess.
What?
Y'all have to say what?
What?
That was fun. A question for you that I thought up that I think would be fun. What are a thing or things in your brain that that either you would stop doing immediately or you think over time, gradually, if your significant other was no longer an influence in your life, like habits or rules, particularities, tasks, routines, liberties that they take or that you take, ways of raising your kids, lifestyle stuff. If you need to think about it for a second, I can give you a couple of mine.
I don't.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
You do
Ken.
one and then I'll do one.
Okay. I would do dishes probably once every 3 days, as opposed to there never being a dish in the sink at any point in the day.
I can't do that. Can't do that. I can't agree with you on this one.
Won't do that. Okay, what's yours?
I have one dish related.
Mm-hmm.
Washing the dishes before putting them in dishwasher.
Yeah. Yep.
Me and my wife, she's gotten so many black eyes over this. It's just.
How do you get a black guy by doing dishes? I don't understand.
She is just very adamant that you need to scrub and have the dishes completely 100% clean before you put them in the dishwasher. And that infuriates me. It absolutely infuriates me because what the fuck is the point in having the dishwasher if I got to clean the goddamn dishes before I put them in the dishwasher? And I'm not talking about leaving chunks of chicken and gabagool on it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying I don't need to clean them.
Milk steak.
Why do we have the dish? She's like, yeah, you got to take the sponge, get everything off of it, and then put it in. I'm like, Heaven, that's just doing the dishes.
Yeah. All right. Now, she's going to hate this, but I send this all the time to my wife through text. I don't know, like, I'm sure there's other people that vibe this way, but, and you might have noticed, when you're a step parent, you seem to have just a titch less empathy for the kid that's not yours, as opposed to the ones you cranked out of your own body. And it's not always evident to you as a step parent, but it's evident to everybody around you. And so there's a battle that you have to kind of constantly wage, which is choose your battles between your new spouse and how much pressure or kind of ridiculousness they're applying to your child. But one that we have in our house is like Mona and Nora, they could chuck anything in the sink and it's clean. She'll clean it within 5 minutes. Sam makes macaroni and then there's a dish in the sink after he's done eating. She'll be like, why can't he do his dishes? And so it's a bit, so anytime, I hate that I do this, but anytime she pulls the dish equity conversation, I just posted it in the chat for the backdoor people. So if you see the link, this is like if something got posted in the journal Nature, it's irrefutable. Well, it's not irrefutable, but like it's legit. Like if the journal Nature goes as far as posting something, it's credible. I just posted an article from goodhousekeeping.com, and the title of the article is Every Reason to Stop Pre-Rinsing Dishes Before They Go in the Dishwasher. So you can shut that one down, Kent.
Just
anytime you just send her that one. You'll also sleep on the couch, but it's better to be dead right than right. I think
that's right. That is absolutely right. I'd rather be semi-groggy and right than fully rested and wrong.
Exactly. So you feel free to use that one, pull that one out of your quiver anytime she decides to do things.
Just send it to her.
Oh, yeah, you might be sleeping in the studio today.
Yeah.
Because just don't tell her I sent it, okay? Please.
Tell you another thing that would stop, that would be washed differently around my house if for some reason we were no longer together. Laundry would no longer be divided by colors.
Yeah, everything would be pink, a shade of pink.
The way I did my laundry up until I was 28 years old was throw it in a ball and throw it in the washer. Blacks, whites, colors, it all got washed together. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Satin got washed with leather.
Wait.
Sometimes there were drill bits in the pockets. Cowboy boots got washed with underwear. And
correct me if I'm wrong, Kent, but as a man, you know when the laundry's done because you stop hearing the drill bits. That's
exactly.
Like, you could be anywhere in the house. Yeah. But you know laundry is done when you stop hearing the Red Wing work boots bumbling around in the dryer.
That's right. Exactly. Cowboy hats got washed with towels. And everything was evenly dispersed, and everything had little white fuzzies on it.
Also, like the things that she refuses to wash, that I'm like, just wash it. It's fine. I don't know if you have this, but she's a bit of a label Nazi. There's pans that she won't let me put in the dishwasher because of the coating on the pan. She's like, it'll ruin the coating if you put it in the dishwasher. I'm like, how does it ruin the coating if just spray water is fixing it versus me with a sponge that's scratchy? How am I doing less damage than just a spritzing machine? And she's like, it's the way of the world. And I'm like, okay, well, guess what? If she were not here anymore, all those pans in the dishwasher also, I'd be washing things that she refuses to wash, like condoms. Throw a bunch of condoms in the washer.
Yeah, you just put it over one of the little spine things that stick up.
Reuse them.
Yep. I mean, you don't even have to wash it. Just let it drain.
Lifespan of sperm's like 30 minutes. I know because I find it odd,
to be honest, that you're in your 40s and you're married and you're still wearing a condom. That's odd to me, but
all right, I can tell you the story. Here's the story. I need to go get a vasectomy. However, I haven't, not because I'm scared at all. I'm like, oh, I don't want to call because they're going to be like, okay, let's get a bunch of information. Like, I don't have time to do that. So she's like, I'll call and do it. I'm like, do it. And now I can just kind of say, well, she's not calling. Also I need to go do it, but I haven't. And then the whole routine, it kind of just, so, it just lets everybody enjoy the experience all the way through.
Yeah.
And then she's also like, I think she's a little, I don't know if you use condoms.
No, I haven't used one since I was 19 years old.
Yeah, but if you're a woman and there's condoms involved, you can probably relate with this. She's like, no muss, no fuss. And as a dude, we don't think about. Okay, here, let me just give you a little bit of a reality check here. Let's just say you take one of those turkey basters, you know, suck it full of yogurt, and then just put it in your butt, and then just empty that turkey baster, and then.
So you got to throw her an old AC/DC shirt afterward that you washed with your cowboy boots.
Okay, but fast food, because cleanup happens afterward. It happens, but now we're trying to put ourselves in their shoes or their private parts. You're only going to get so much yogurt out, right? And then next day you're going to be at Home Depot and you're like, what the heck? And you're like, fruit on my bottom. So all I'm saying is no muss, no fuss with the. This is true. This is science. Like
I'm not blown away. You still use condoms.
I know, but I'd just rather
not have sex.
I need to go in and get snipped, and we don't always, but it's like it is an option if I don't know what else to say. It seems okay in my head, and then now I feel kind of weird.
I'll tell you where I stand on condoms at 36 years old. Like if for some reason something happened with me in heaven and I had to go back into the dating pool and some girl was like, well, I need you to put on a condom. I would be like, I'm just going to need you to leave because I would rather watch Pawn Stars than have sex with a condom. She's like, well, you don't know what I've got. And I'll be like, I'm 36 years old. You think I'm way past giving a fuck if I catch STDs?
Okay. But here's I'm going to make one more argument and then I'll get off my condom box on this. Just remember, also, we should probably say the FDA does, and also, we don't recommend you wash condoms. That's a bad idea.
Right.
We're not going to pay for your kids if you get them. But speaking of kids, so this last weekend, we had a cousins reunion. And I don't know if you've ever had some cousin get a wild hair and they're like, you know what? We haven't seen each other in forever, so we should get all the cousins together. And to me, cousins are like optional friends. Like, I love my cousins, but an idea of like us making a thing out of everybody trying to get together, it just hit every antisocial bone in my body. And I didn't want to do it. I was like, I barely want to go to like a family reunion. But then I realized that there was another reason. My grandma, who, I love her. She was like, I'm bringing every single memory book I have, like all the photo albums and everything for like all of it. It was like the Library of Alexandria. We show up to the park. I get to see all my cousins. I haven't seen some of these cousins in 15 years. So it was nice, and I walked away going, I'm glad I went. However, my sister, Sarah, and me are the oldest cousins out of the whole group. Like, we're the literal oldest. And I don't know another way to put that except for we are the oldest of all, by, in some cases, a lot of years. Every single one of my cousins had kids that were like almost 20. And I've got a 5-year-old, 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And that
saying
is
bruh
condom
every other word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My cousins are saying bruh. That's how young some of my cousins are. And that right there is a condom commercial. Because if you want, like when you try to do your credit history and they're like, oh, your credit's too new. It's a weird thing, but they're like, you keep getting new credit cards, which it brings down the average age of your credit, which actually works against you. I don't know if you knew that, but if you had like a credit card you got 12 years ago, or you got 5 credit cards 12 years ago and you pay them off and everything like that, you're better off than if you picked up a credit card once a year every 12 years, because your average credit age is young and credit bureaus don't like that. That is like being old and having super young kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's move on. Chase, do you have anything that the question I asked?
I would have to stop cleaning out my truck every 3 seconds. That would just never have to happen anymore. So I have a truck, my wife has a truck. I clean my truck like once every 2 years and it always looks clean. I clean my wife's truck every 3 days and it always looks like a tornado went through it.
Oh, so you're saying if your wife weren't around, you wouldn't have to clean your truck out as often because your truck wouldn't be messy.
Mm-hmm.
Because she messes your truck up.
Yeah. So yeah, because it's weird. I have a truck and she has a truck, but her truck is the new nice truck. So that's the truck we drive around everywhere. So every time I get in the truck, I have to spend the first 10 minutes cleaning everything out of it. There's like 30 sweatshirts. There's 20 empty Red Bull cans. There's napkins. There's wrappers from everything you can imagine. Yes.
Condoms? See?
Condoms.
I don't mean to circle back, but come on.
So, yeah, I wouldn't have to clean out my truck anymore. Just maybe like once a year, like I'm used to doing it.
Yeah. See, and that's what I'm talking about. But because she's still alive, you are loving and you do it, maybe do it without guile, without,
Well,
yeah.
on the flip side to that, if my wife was suddenly not here anymore, I would definitely have to cut down on my spending habits because she is my sugar mama.
Oh, so basically what I'm not paying you enough.
No. No, you're
Dang
paying
it.
me enough, but I would have to stop spending weeks on super yachts.
Yeah, you would. Well, I think all of us would probably shouldn't do that very often because, well, I'll go poor. Well, all of us will go poor. But I hear you.
A super yacht for me is a bass boat. So I don't know what the fuck y'all are talking about.
Super yacht for
I
me
spent
is
2 days on a pontoon that was made in 1984 and felt like Jeffrey Epstein.
because the 6-year-olds on the pontoon.
No, because it felt like a billionaire.
Oh, I see.
Oh, there was a pontoon that was in the same cove as we were on the lake, but it was called the Poontoon.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
That's
The best part-
amazing.
All the guys on it were like 65 years old, leathery skin.
Gross.
It's just
Ew.
like,
The
yeah,
kind
I'm
of place
sure.
where you could drink over 3 margaritas.
Circling back to Jess's favorite song. So just for the backdoor access people, I think this is worthy because we can visually describe this. Chase, could you queue up a picture of the boat you were on? And while you're queuing that up, I will say, when you said I'm going to be on a boat, I kind of, because like if I think of like Arizona and I think of, you know, the lakes down there, like Havasu and all that, like I've seen, you know, party boats, houseboat, right? You know, you got 2 big giant pontoons underneath it and everybody just kind of hangs out and it's more or less a platform that floats on the water. That's what I thought you were going to be on for several days, but you weren't. You were on, I believe the last person to own a boat like you were on was Captain Kirk.
It's like the same boat that Elon Musk probably owns right now.
And you know what? And Elon Musk is probably making payments on his still. That if that gives you an idea. And Chase is still trying to pull it up. So we're trying to
pull it up.
Oh, while you're pulling it up, because we're having small talk, I will tell you something. I went to the drag races this weekend, Firebird. I went to Nightfire Nationals, and it was amazing. If you've never been to a drag race, 2 things in the world that you'll never be able to explain to other people how crazy they are: rocket launches, drag races. Nothing vibrates your body more than those 2 things. I will say, maybe with the exception of NASCAR, but I've never been. But these are 10,000 horsepower cars and there's no noise. And then all of a sudden,
yeah, you sent video and it looked like a spaceship taking off.
Oh, yeah. They have rocket cars. The jet cars show up there too. There's a Jelly Belly car. This guy's an 80 something. He's turned like this, it looks like a horse-drawn carriage. He's turned it into a drag racer. But his in particular, they put cinnamon in the nitro that the car runs on, the fuel. And so when any of the other nitro cars go, your eyes just burn the whole time. You're like all night long. You're just like, this is great. And your eyes are literally burning out of your head because you're just breathing in nitro gas fumes. But they put cinnamon in the nitro, so the air smells like cinnamon. So your eyes are burning, but you're like, it smells like cinnamon. It's great. And then he does this thing at the start line where he's like, bah! But he does a wheelie the whole 1/4 mile strip. And everybody's like, so this tells you again why I maybe shouldn't go to drag races, because everybody around me is like, how the crap does he do that? He can't even see the end of the road. How does he stay straight? And everybody's wondering. I go, actually, I don't know if you knew this, but he has a plexiglass window in the bottom of that car. And so when it does a wheelie, he can still see straight. Who knew? And they go,
is that true?
Yeah. And they go, we didn't know that. Thanks for ruining the magic for a 4-year-old. But I do that. Like my wife says, I've got this huge bruise here. And I'll say, actually, you know what bruises are? It's broken blood vessels caught in fat tissue. And she'll be like, did you really just say that to me? I'm like, yep. Follow me for more couch bed conversations.
Well, on the topic of vehicles and how things would change if your significant other was no longer with you,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to put gas in every vehicle that I get in every time I get in it. Because my wife is under the impression that gas makes itself inside the vehicle. You just got to park it long enough, and then the gas tank fills up. It's like, oh no, the gas is almost out. Better park it for a few days and let it rebuild.
Oh, yeah. So,
But
I think we've
in her
given Chase-
defense, I have the same outlook on my dresser and my underwear. My underwear are getting skimpy. Just got to give it a few days. It'll make some new underwear.
Gross. But true. Well, Chase, did we give you enough time for you to find your boat?
Yeah, I have a picture of it.
All right, let's see.
It's unprofessional, but I'm going to run upstairs and change the batteries in my e-cigarette.
Okay. Can't see the boat before, so we're not worried. If everybody's like, wait, guys, you can't, he's leaving, you can't show the boat. We'll be like, just rest assured he's seen the boat.
Yeah.
All right.
I have to. Oh my gosh. It's not going to let me do it.
And this is okay. So what I was going to say, that's fine, because I was going to say small talk when things technically go wrong. When you're at a drags show, there is one dude who is talking the whole time on a mic, and then there's loudspeakers in front of everybody. Hey,
Okay, I just sent you the picture in your messenger because I would have to restart Google to give it the permission to let me share my screen.
Dumb.
Freaking computers.
Let me see if I can find it.
I told you I don't know how to computer.
I got it.
Oh, Jess is going to pull it up. Anyway, small talk. Sometimes these drag racers, they blow up on the track, or they'll just blow up, and that it's very frightening. People can die. But when a car like that blows up, the track gets covered in all the parts and the oil and the gas and maybe blood from the person. And the next car isn't going to just race over that. I mean, they've got standards. So they'll literally take like 45 minutes, and they'll bring out all these tractors and vehicles, and they scrape the surface. And there's a guy with blow torches and stuff. While that's all happening, some dude's got to do small talk the whole time. And it's impressive that he can do small talk that much while they're literally repairing. Imagine this. They're like, we're going to be repairing the road in front of your house between July and October. That crew is rebuilding a road that usually would take the state months to do, but they're doing it in like minutes, while this guy has enough stuff in his head to talk about. Oh, look at that boat. Finally, enough small talk, everybody. Look at that thing. Look at it. I don't know what Jess is doing. It's like she keeps changing the size.
I don't know what it
looks like if an iPhone was a transformer.
Yeah. And it went away. If you've seen the movie where Will Smith was a robot, what's that one called?
Will Smith was a robot?
iRobot.
He's not a robot in that movie. He's a normal guy fighting robots.
I don't know. I beg to differ. But yeah, it's black and white, and it's got like, okay.
Well, yeah, because it's got Will Smith and Shia LaBeouf.
No, I wasn't. I was talking about the boat. Not the.
Oh.
It keeps going blurry. I don't know.
It's fine. Don't touch anything right now. It looks good.
Okay.
What lake were you on, Chase?
Lake Powell.
Oh yeah, that's the lake to be on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know what it's really mean? Do you know what they call the indigenous people down there? Like, you know what they it's very mean. Do you know what they call them? Like just the indigenous people?
To just call them Navajo.
No. Like, there's mean people there. I was at the beach. I was at Lake Powell, and there's people that just like, they live there now, but they are mean to the indigenous people, and they call them troglodytes. It's so mean.
Yeah.
And they'll just say it in public. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Sounds like a
people?
fossil.
Yeah. Oh, so mean. So mean. Anyway, Jess was showing the picture and then it went away. So for those that are listening, it looks like one of the Queen's double-decker buses from our friends across the pond. If it had a baby with Will Smith and Shia LaBeouf.
That's exactly how it looks.
Unbelievable. Only there were 4 double-decker buses because that is a big boat. You could get lost. You could lose a family on that boat. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So there is a basement.
They're way out in the ocean.
There's a basement. There's a main level. There's 4 levels on the boat.
Spots.
So like you'll go up 3 sets of stairs to get from the bottom to the top.
Oh my! There's a basement.
There's a basement.
Okay, and just to put it
has
in
a garage.
Put it in perspective. That little thing floating to the left near the beach, to the left, like over on the other beach, that's a person on a kayak, isn't it?
Oh no, that's a person on a kayak.
So,
to be fair, every boat has a basement if you find a rock big enough.
So you know how they always do those, like this, the Earth is this, but you could fit 1 million Earths inside the sun. You could fit probably 1,000 of that kayaker in that boat if you just packed them in, like, you know, we're sending them to another country to have jobs as slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 1,000. Wow. And you spent how much time on that boat?
A week.
A week. Yeah, and we didn't feel it. Editing fell apart. Everybody was like, why is there 2 minutes of silence at the beginning of the True Crime Kent episode? And then I had to be like, I did that. Sorry. Chase isn't.
After I spent 9 hours editing it.
I waited 4 days for the Neverdaily show. And we didn't even post one of them.
I ruined everything.
Hey, Op, all you got to do, listen, man, all you got to do is put the music on the beginning and the end. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. Okay.
Can't trust. Can't distrust my editing skills so much. We're in the 50s now with that show. Every time he sends me the raw tracks that he's edited, he always says, all you got to do is put the music on the beginning and the end and kick it out the door.
No way this can be fucked when it gets out there. 27 minutes of crickets in the beginning.
How?
I'm just glad to know that I was missed.
You a lot. Oh, you were physically missed, spiritually missed, and your editing skills were sorely missed. I don't think Jess is not laughing at all about this because it hurt her. It hurt her emotionally to have you. I believe in a text that between the two of you, and because I was on the same one. Yes, she says. I miss you so much, Chase. Enjoy your time away. And then she said, please come back, though. I will not survive without you. There wasn't like an optional, like, I may not. It was very definitive. I will not survive without you. And so I'm glad you came back.
Me too. I'm glad to be here. The next time I leave, we'll be at CrimeCon.
No, the next time you leave, it has to be you've passed away. I think we have a new rule. Everybody comes to the booth at CrimeCon and Chase is like at his computer and I'm like, don't talk to him. Don't talk to him. Don't stop talking to him. He's editing.
Just hunched over.
Everybody comes to the booth.
Dragging
and like, I thought
around.
Amber Raptor was going to be here.
And then she pops out of a box that I shipped there. I didn't even know she was in it. She like smuggled her. Oh, hey.
She has just as much of a following as we do.
I know.
In the groups.
I feel good about the fact that we've created some celebrities that aren't even on the show. And that's hard to do. That's hard to do. Yeah. I don't even think Sword and Scale's done that, really.
Hey, I've got another thing that I would do if my wife
Okay.
Stopped existing suddenly. Because you talked about your kids, like how
Yes.
upbringing. My kids would be riding the school bus so fast their head would spin for multiple reasons. And I've told this to my wife, but ultimately she won the fight. It doesn't have anything to do really. I mean, it would be nice with having to take them to and from school. We got getting ready to have 3 different kids in 3 different schools. So that's enough of a pain in the ass as it is. But most importantly for me, I think the school bus is such an important social setting for
Social
kids
tool.
to have their teeth cut. Because that is where the school bus, I feel like, is where I learned to verbally defend myself.
Yeah.
And to be quick with being able to like come up with one-liners or whatever to like, because that's where you get picked on. So the school bus is a skin toughening place. And I wanted the kids to ride the school bus so bad, but heaven ultimately won out in that one. You got to have like some hard times.
I'd argue
I think it's
that
very
some of
important.
I'd argue that some of our best.
Let's talk about fucking drag strips again. Let's go into that.
We wouldn't have Red Bundy.
Exactly. Without school buses, we wouldn't. I'm telling you, I learned so much on the school bus. It's really like Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
The school bus is. And I was very adamant that I wanted them to ride the school bus for that reason, but heaven won out. No, we will take our children, all of them, even though they go to 50 different schools, 20 miles apart, and they have to be there at 3 different times. Let's just play this game Monday through Friday for half of our life.
I showed up, I visited, and we took trips to the school. And it's not just like, hey, we're going to go around the corner. Do you want to come? It was like, hey, jump in the car. Did you bring water? Are you hydrated? This is a trip. Come on. And then I think we finished off whole audiobook picking up Mo.
Because you can't just go and pick them up. You got to wait in line for 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I will say another skin toughening thing is, and this doesn't really go with the bus thing, but I never realized that when you're in the waiting line to pick your kid up, how much judgment and like it's a Shark Tank.
Yeah.
You've got other moms that look at you weird. Like they'll walk by your car and look in your car and like judge you. Teachers that are judging you.
Yeah.
Standing out, like the sentinels that stand out there and pretend like they're like keeping the kids safe.
Yeah.
They judge you. Like everyone is judging the parents when you go through these wait list lines to pick your human up.
And I'm wild. Like a car seat Nazi, I'll be honest. And like I will take the time to put my child in her car seat. And I don't give a fuck if you have to wait 20 minutes. I'm going to put my kid in their car seat. I'm not going to drive until they're buckled in and safe. And where I'll see a van pull up and she's got 9 kids that are, 5 years old, and they just crawl in. 2 of them get in the front seat. The rest of them crawl into the back hatch, sit on top of some Hot Pockets and groceries. And like, but I try to hurry to get them buckled in. So that's stressful because everybody's waiting. And I'm like, a car seat is stressful enough if you've got all the time in the world and you're sitting in your own driveway. Because it's like trying to buckle Dale Earnhardt into a fucking NASCAR.
Well, okay. And I'll even add, when we picked Sawyer up, Sawyer has a Spider-Man car seat, which constantly freaked me out because it's human size. And I kept thinking there was somebody in the back seat when she wasn't in it. But then when you buckle Sawyer into the Spider-Man car seat, Spider-Man fights you. It's literally like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu match. It is not, you're like, okay, now I must take a femur and wrap it over here and click it in because it's a full body Spider-Man that she sits in.
Yeah. And the cup holders are his hands.
Yeah.
But it's like hard enough to get a kid. But I don't know who designs car seats, but they all need to be fed to the Taliban. I would really like to see them all on their knees in a desert blindfolded while Jihadi John stands behind them with a K-bar. That's how much I hate the designers of car seats. But it's just like, how many times have you done this under your breath while buckling your well, Chase doesn't have any children, but Jess and Op, how many times have you done this under your breath while buckling your kids in? Fucking piece of shit. Fucking God damn it. Stupid fucking thing. Why does this strap?
Totally.
How did this clip get turned around? I don't understand this. Fucking
why is there Elmer's glue all over this one? Another thing, two things on the judgment. All that judgment doesn't compare to when you crank out a kid at a hospital and then they're like, all right, let's go down and make sure your car seat's situated. And some haughty nurse gets to come down and walk you through how to get your car seat attached to your car. And then the whole time they're like, do you realize, I don't think you did that. Do you realize you're taking one of the most precious things on earth home with you in this? You didn't do that right at all. And then the instructions. You can't just put a car seat in the back seat and they're safe. You got to like harness that car seat to your car. And if you look at the instructions on how to get a car seat connected to a modern car, it goes something like this. Step 1, detach your wrist from your body. Make your hand 3 times the size it should be and grab the clip. Shove your hand so far back in the crack of the seat and try to find a hook that we manufactured into this car that's the size of a thimble.
Yes. And I've got a pack of flesh-colored bananas for hands.
You look like you got in a prison riot fight. Your knuckles are all shredded.
Yeah.
But you're going to do it because your thought in your head is like, what if I only have one of these hooked? And you see that slow motion, video in your head play out of the car impact. And then your child's like, woo, 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 whip, It's just, and so you'll go through all of it because you love your child.
And here's the thing, even after you get those buckles mounted to the frame of the vehicle itself, you're only halfway there, baby. You're only halfway there because you still got to put the regular seatbelt through the car seat itself. And that takes 2 people. Because you got to have one person feeding it through one side.
Right.
And the other person standing there like a catcher, a hind catcher for baseball, trying to get it to buckle it in. And here's the thing, even after you get that, you're only halfway there because you still got to put the fucking kid in the car seat and get them buckled in without burning or pinching their little thighs. And you did all this in a vehicle because you forgot to turn it on. And it's the middle of summer, and it's 280 degrees with 80% humidity, and you've lost half a pound of body weight trying to get this fucking car seat in, and you're also dehydrated, and you've got a headache now.
And your kid is not sitting. Jessica Friswell in the back door, she says, and you got to hope you never pinch their little legs with the bottom latch. Here's the thing. You're face to face with your kid. You're sweating all over their face and body because this is happening. And you're swearing in their face. And it's a terrible experience for them. And then you go click and you get a look in their eyes as they show you that you just injured them. And they're like, and you're like, oh my gosh, which one? And then you're like scrambling to figure out which like latch that was invented like in the Egyptian times. They're not normal and they're not user friendly. You're trying to figure out the code to like undo the latch. It's the face. Like here's how it goes. The face to face that you're with, if you've ever seen Alien, when Sigourney Weaver is right in front of the alien and it's just breathing and sliming in her face, that's the same.
The look of you pinched my thigh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you've ever seen me putting in a car seat in the back of a vehicle, I'd imagine that from the front looking in, it looks like a deer has been trapped in the back of the vehicle. Like how frantic and just like, just looks like somebody's trapped a wild buck in the back seat of the vehicle and closed the doors.
Now, if you ever want to see an absolutely effortless experience in putting in a car seat, follow Jess's instructions, because Jess's instructions go something like this. 1 margarita. And It's like ASMR watching. Just slide it in here and click it right here. 2 margarita, put your kid in the seat.
I honestly think that if we were planning a big vacation to go to the beach and we were getting ready to leave, and my wife, right before we stepped, was like, "Did you remember to change the car seats over?" I would go, we could just stay home. We don't have to go.
Okay. You're so right. Last night, we had a 10-minute conversation that we've had 1,000 times because my wife was like, hey, I'm going to go clean this brand new, like, amazing mansion, but it's right across the border in Oregon. So tomorrow morning, and then the next 10 minutes were like, I'm going to remove the car seats and I'm going to put them in the garage. If you have to go anywhere, are you comfortable with putting them in the Suburban? And it was like a hostage negotiation. I'm like, I don't think I'm comfortable with that. I don't know. I you know how I am with the cars. 10 minutes of negotiating who's going to put the car seats in my Suburban. I hear you.
And on that, you also with raising your kids and how they would be raised if suddenly you broke up or whatever. I think if me and Heaven, if something ever happened, we weren't together anymore and I've got our kids, I would just I would sell our house, build a garage, and we would just live in an apartment above a massive garage. I would build a small apartment around a garage.
Like a shoust?
Is that what it's called?
A shoust.
Or
That's what they call it in Germany.
barn dominium?
My a guy that lived down the road from me when I was growing up had one of those. He raced drag cars back to drag strips. That was his hobby, and he was a bachelor. And he just took all his life savings and built and poured it into this garage, and then the apartment above was just kind of an afterthought. And that's where he lived. And I always thought that was the coolest thing ever. Like as a kid, I loved going over there. His name was Danny Dillingham, and it was awesome. It's like this amazing garage where he just so happened to live above it in an apartment.
It just kind of occurred to me that, Craigslist got these code words for sex and all that. We could start using Craigslist as a cry for help for these moments where we have too much pride to ask anyone for help, like with car seats. We could come up with some code words where we post on Craigslist, hey, tomorrow morning, and then I'm meeting up with Sigourney Weaver, and the code that everyone on Craigslist is like, this guy's going to need help with car seats. And then somebody shows up. Like, let me give you one more fun fact on Craigslist. If you see somebody posting about skiing, they're not interested in skiing. They're looking at snorting some cocaine off your boobs. So, who hasn't said anything about what they would do or not do is Jess.
Yeah.
So, it's Jess.
Blowjobs. Definitely blowjobs.
And see, that's one thing that would definitely increase tenfold for me if me and Heaven ever broke up.
Oh my God.
I would be giving a lot more blowjobs.
Hands down. Never suck a dick in my life ever again.
You just said 2 things you wouldn't do. No blowjobs, hands down. Oh, man, that hit me right off center.
And I'm the opposite. Like, he's obsessed with like how I load the dishwasher, and I just like put as much stuff in the dishwasher as I possibly can.
Me too. High five, sister. Don't walk.
Here's a difference, and correct me if I'm wrong. Here's a difference. If you're significant between men and women, I think, is if my wife were to pass away, I would not, for my life, think about switching my sexual preference as far as the gender goes. But I've heard a lot of women say, "Yeah, I'm probably done with men if my husband dies." I've heard. Jess is nodding. See, I don't like.
I think I would just be done with like anybody.
Well, I think all women have like a little bit of love for women in them. It's just like to what extent. That's what I believe. Or that's what porn has taught me.
Right. Like
Yeah.
Day said, I'd be done with men, but would not switch to women necessarily because I'd then just be a mother.
Well, and let's not under butter the biscuits here. We all know technology's come to a point where if you're not procreating, Amazon's got you covered. So apparently, so does Craigslist. So,
I'm with her on that. I do think that if something ever happened with me in heaven, I would stay single.
Day.
What's
Day
that?
in the back.
I'd just get a
Day in the
thruster
back.
5,000.
Day just said,
Same girl, same.
just get that thruster 5,000. Wow. Oh, that would probably change for a lot of women. They'd be like, I'd overload the dryer. Wink, wink. Yeah, you guys, you make me sick. Anybody else have
5,000 is pricey though.
It is.
I had to make
Fun
payments.
fact: if we all screen shared our save it for later carts with Amazon, the thruster 5,000 is probably in all of our carts, right? Right? Am I right?
To my past orders.
Kent has it on subscribe and save.
Yeah. I've even got the insurance.
Once to 3 months. Ah, man. That was fun. But that's not what we were doing today, Kent. Okay. So I have an update that just happened actually. My dad texted me and said, "Are you going to be around in a little bit?" And it's noon here. I was like, "Yeah, why?" I'm gonna show this to you because this will blow your ever loving mind. I hope it blows your mind at least. I'm gonna post a link in the chat. Click on that link to see what my dad is buying. And he was like, I'd like to come over and show you what my dad's buying. Chase, very close, Chase. It's very close to another Chevy S10 full of beef, but this one's better. So I don't know if you can pull that up. It's actually on Craigslist. So clicker beware. But no, he's buying a one-of-a-kind 1951 custom Dodge truck.
And what does that mean, really?
In this case, it really is. You can look at the pictures. But for you truck nuts out there, this has a Chevy 350 V8 with a turbo 400 transmission. It's been completely, it's a frame off restoration. It's got pinstriping. It's orange. It's out of this world. And he just told me he's going and buying it and he wants to bring it by so I can go for a ride with him. So let's get to, I don't want to cut this short, but he'll be here soon. So, Kent, what, once you're done looking at the pictures, what did you bring for us today?
I brought a story that's got everything up.
Whoa.
You'll laugh, you'll cry. Actually, you'll probably just laugh.
Okay.
And I call this story "Keep It Simple, Stupid."
Okay.
And you'll understand why at the end of it.
Okay.
And we're going back to the Vietnam War for this story. It's the mid 60s. And that's when 20-year-old Douglas Hegdahl joined the Navy in 1966. You ever heard of this guy?
No.
Well, you're never going to forget him after this.
Ooh.
Now, Douglas Hegdahl, he's in the Navy, joins in 1966 during the Vietnam War. He gets put on a ship, the USS Canberra. And on April 6, 1967, young Douglas Hegdahl is knocked overboard of the USS Canberra because of the repercussion from one of its 130 millimeter guns.
Oh.
And
it vibrated, it shook him off the
knocks
boat.
him off the boat into the
Really?
waters. And when he gets knocked off the boat, he's 3 miles off the coast of the Gulf of Tonkin. I'm sorry, he's in the Gulf of Tonkin, 3 miles off of the coast, off the nearest coast. So Doug just starts swimming. And he's eventually picked up. Now, keep in mind, this is during the Vietnam War. Picked up by Vietnamese fishermen. And that's no bueno.
Oh, yeah, because... Oh, okay.
Now, these fishermen, although they treated Doug well while they were in his possession, while he was in their possession, they did immediately turn him over to the Vietnamese militia.
Oh.
Who then immediately took young Doug to the famous Hanoi Hilton. And if you're like, well, what is the Hanoi Hilton?
Oh, Hanoi Hilton.
The Hanoi
Hilton. Yeah.
That's a well-known POW camp for Americans. And it has a very low rating on Yelp.
Jeez.
One comment says, accommodations leave much to be desired, and the staff isn't all that friendly. So...
She's so terrible.
Now, here at the Hanoi Hilton, this op is where Doug Hegdahl becomes a fucking legend. Because you know what he did?
What?
He didn't roll over and start crying because he's probably going to die here. Nope. He had a plan. From the jump, Doug just started acting like Leonardo DiCaprio in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. They legit thought he was retarded.
Wait, he just started acting touched?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
He went full I Am Sam. On top of that, Doug looked super young. So it's very Leonardo DiCaprio in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. If you look at a picture of him, very young looking dude, even in his 20s. He looks like a young teenager. He was considered so stupid by the Vietnamese militia that they gave him the nickname, the Incredibly Stupid One.
They're so straightforward.
Turns out Doug was a genius, though, because while he's doing his shenanigans there in the POW camp, everybody else is getting beaten. And they wouldn't hit Doug anymore because it was like beating a dog to them. Like, we can't abuse this thing. It doesn't know any better. They actually tried to teach him to read.
Like they didn't think he could?
Here's the thing. Doug was a fluent reader. But after trying, they discovered he was incapable of learning to read and gave up. Now, maybe you're wondering why they were trying to teach him to read. It's because they wanted him to write statements against the United States. He agreed, yeah, I'll write the statements, but I don't know how to read or write. So they were like, well, we'll have to teach him how to read and write then in English. So he's in a Vietnamese POW camp learning how to read and write in English by the Vietnamese.
It'd be really hard to like dumb down your like proficiency to a level where they're like, no. Like, think about that. Like you'd have to dumb it down enough that they would be able to correct your mistakes.
Yeah. They eventually gave up, though. If you're wondering what kind of things he did when they weren't trying to take care of him like he was their new kitty that they had at camp, he refused to speak most of the time, acted like it says, quote, a complete imbecile, and continuously, nonstop almost, hummed Old MacDonald Had a Farm.
This guy's a genius.
Because it got to the point where they considered Doug such little of a threat and so mentally disabled that he was given free run of the camp.
No
He
way.
was allowed to just wander around the POW camp unchecked. And you know what he did while he was running around the POW camp unchecked? Spent his free time disabling Vietnamese vehicles by putting dirt in their fuel tanks.
Is a genius. Oh my god.
They could not figure why their Vietnamese vehicles kept breaking down. And even if they discovered it was because the gas tanks were full of dirt, and even if they discovered it was Doug, they probably would have just been like, oh, it's that retarded guy. He doesn't know any better. What used to make a dirt disappear? Old MacDonald
And
had
they
a
wouldn't even
farm.
punish him if they caught him. Probably. He's literally ruining military equipment. Oh my gosh. That is. Oh my gosh.
Doug also convinced his
My cheeks
captors
hurt.
that he needed new glasses and that he was blind. But Doug had great vision. He used this opportunity to memorize the route from the prison to the city of Hanoi.
Hanoi. Oh my gosh. Oh.
And they eventually just released him because they were tired of dealing with him. They were like, will you guys please take this retarded dude off our hands?
Oh.
But here's where the heartwarming part of the story comes in. You remember how I said that Doug hummed and sang Old MacDonald Had a Farm over and over and over again?
Yeah.
Turns out what he was doing was using that song and some kind of memory thing that he did to remember the name of 256 other American POWs in that camp that were being looked for back in the United States.
No.
There was a reason he was humming and singing that song over and over again. It was a memory exercise he was doing. And when he got back to America, he was able to recite first and last name of 256 POWs to the tune of Old MacDonald Had a Farm.
Oh my gosh. Did it? I'm sure they used that information and rescued him.
At the very least, families had closure. Or not closure, but hey, our son is alive. Our husband is alive. Our father is alive.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. What a genius.
Doug
Also probably top of the find that guy and kill him list for the Vietnamese after
just
that.
Made a pure joke of the Vietnamese. Just by playing like he was just touched by the Lord. Today,
wow.
Doug Hegdell is still alive and well and is 76 years old. After he was brought back to the United States and he gave America the names of the other POWs of 256 men that were also in that camp, they actually hired him. The military did to teach POW training to other military.
Totally. Because he wandered the camp, not just stuck in a cage.
He knows the whole working of the whole thing. They gave him free reign.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. You know, and here's the thing, like you also have to try to wrap your head around the fact that this guy was taking his own life in his hands, because he could have been killed during sabotage. He could have been killed by wandering in the wrong part.
Yep.
Like that's the balls on that guy.
Yeah, he's sabotaging their sabotaging their vehicles. during this. It's not like he just took care of himself. He was still a soldier. He was in the Navy but he was still fighting the war. He was just doing it with his hands curled like a little T-Rex.
Oh my God. That is genius. Okay, question for you. You've been in war. You've been part of. How would you be as a POW? Like, that's a hard question, but like, have you ever thought about that? Like, if you were captured,
I feel like that's one of those questions where like people can be like, I would be like this. I would be like that. But I feel like it's like, okay, guy, you have no idea how you would handle that situation until you were put in it. You can talk a lot of shit and you can run your mouth and act tough until you're actually laying on that table with a cloth like spread over your face and buckets of water being poured until you're being waterboarded. Like it's easy to run your mouth. So I don't know. I like to think that I wouldn't talk. I wouldn't say anything. But I don't think anybody can answer. I don't think the only people that know the answer to that question are those that have been tested in that situation.
Did you know anyone that was captured?
No, because I don't know if you've heard, the Taliban and Al Qaeda weren't big on taking prisoners.
Yeah, good point.
And if they did, they were usually on a viral video just a few days later.
Yeah, so the whole Hollywood thing where they're like, let's capture that guy because he's probably valuable.
That's not a thing in the Middle East. No. That's more of a uniformed versus uniformed war, where two uniformed forces are fighting.
Yeah.
I did help take a lot of hostages, or a lot of POWs, though.
You took a lot of their people?
Taliban, yeah. I've escorted many Taliban.
And they use them often, like they'll use them for intel, right?
Yeah, we would, and I've also been on Taliban guard where you've got 2 or 3 known Taliban that are housed in a tent inside your base, and you stand guard on them. I've had to do that a lot.
That's awkward.
Yeah, it is, because they just really just eye you with the hatred of a million burning suns. It's really just a staring contest.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I think anybody who purported to say how they would be in POW camp, but I'm going to throw this out to you guys. I would wager that I could pull off being mentally retarded.
Oh, you're asking if I could pull? Yeah, you could just be yourself.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I would just be myself.
I thought you were asking me how would I handle a POW, being a POW. I think I could. I don't think that I have the acting chops to be able to do this, though, for that as long as he did.
I just feel like if you were special, like I would just do what I normally do. I would hug people at random. I would roll out the fun. I would wager this. I think I could not only pass through the POW camp, probably get killed because of my desire to have other races like me. I would probably push that boundary too far and get killed. But if I didn't, I kind of feel like not only would I pass the test of being a POW and make it out alive, I might actually be the first POW to make money off of that somehow. Like I would do a POW podcast for the prison, the people that, I feel like I could do some kind of jester thing where they pay me through Venmo or Cash App to try to be and I'm just being myself and they don't even know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we got to pay the bills.
I think I would approach being a POW the same way I did boot camp, which my goal in boot camp was to make it to graduation day without any of the drill instructors knowing my name. Just stay right in the middle of the pack.
That's a very wise approach, because I'll bet you a lot of guys going to boot camp going, they're going to know my name.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do. Hey.
I love it. No one can see this right now except for the people in the back. I did
send you an article about how you're not supposed to wash the dishes before you put them in the dishwasher. Yes, but I would like to say that operator sent me that article.
Shut up. You're not supposed to say that part. I didn't send it, Heaven. I did not.
She said, you guys are nasty, and I will not be eating at your house ever.
Heaven's in charge of dishes at the next
Look at her
beach
shirt.
venue.
It says, her shirt says, I pooped today.
I love her so much. Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah, just give that article a read when you get a chance.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, I'm just saying, trust the science.
I guess I should.
I did not write that article. I don't know what you're talking about. It doesn't have a million spelling mistakes in it either. So Jess didn't write the article. No, we're all in agreement that you just get the chunks off of the dishes.
You don't get the chunks.
Yeah, I do. I get the chunks off the dishes, Heaven. I make sure there's no gabagool. There's no carrots or onions. That's why I always have to get the lucky chunks. I have to get the chunks out of the bottom of the sink. She slammed the door because that makes
the door on you.
But yeah, I tried to lay low. I tried to be in the middle. I didn't want the drill instructors to know my name. I didn't try to. A lot of people do go to boot camp with like, they're gonna know me. They're gonna know me, and it turns out it doesn't matter if they do or not. Like in the grand scheme of things, like nobody gets to the fleet after you graduate boot camp. They're like, how'd y'all do in boot camp?
You don't get to show off your medals and badges from boot camp.
No, because it turns out there aren't any.
Yeah, see, that now, it's not boot camp, but when you go out as a missionary for my church, you go through a couple phases like that. You go to the missionary training center first, where this place is wild. It's like a little tiny city of itself. No one can come in or out. You can't leave. So it's kind of like prison. The food's amazing. You can eat anytime you want, as much as you want. Also, all the people that are serving the food are college girls from BYU, which is across the street, which is really hard as a missionary to have that happen. But on top of that, you take pride in the fact that you're like, big man on missionary campus, I guess. And then you go out wherever you go. I went to Alabama, and you come to the realization really quick that you just went to war, and all these guys have been out there for a long time, and the language they just taught you has no use because you learned a language in 2 months that is a foreign language, and you're like, I think I can roll. You get out there and like, oh no, just throw that language away because here the dialect is totally different.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, you went to Alabama, and I will just tell you, if you've never been to the South, and this is true, there is a difference between English, Southern, and Black Southern.
Yes.
And it takes some time to get used to. It really does. It can be very, very, very challenging.
Especially down around like Louisiana.
Yeah, where everything like the language bounces, and you're not sure where a word ended and where another one started.
When you start getting into those like Haitian influences around there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And even me, sometimes, especially when I first joined and I got to the fleet, and I still had 20 years of just being in a white meth town. A southern white meth town with other southern white people.
Yeah.
And I still had my accent really bad, which you think my accent's bad now. This is like, I sound now like a art critiquer compared to how I did when I first joined the military. So whenever I first started talking to like having to interact with like New Yorkers from Manhattan and stuff, they would actually look at me like I wasn't speaking English.
But when you got all refined and you came back to Kentucky, were your friends like, man, what are you, some art critiquer now?
Oh,
by the
look
way-
at him. He's seen the world. Now he's all worldly.
He said sex with the goat. He knows everything. Move
Pronouncing all the letters.
over. He's been over to Hanoi.
Really enunciating.
Art critiquer. Put a pin in that timestamp, Jess. That's a doozy.
Yeah, I mean, to everybody in my hometown, when I got back, I sounded like, who's that guy that interviews everybody on Inside the Actors Studio?
Oh yeah, Charlie Rose. No,
James
but
something.
yeah, I know who I know who
James
you're talking
Lipton.
about. Yeah,
It sounds like James Lipton to.
I was in Kandahar, and you'll never guess what happened. My monocle fell out of my eye, and
You would think that the way I greeted everyone in my hometown when I got back was like, good day to you, sir.
you're just at a Cheddar's.
Got a monocle and one of those things where you put the cigarette in the end of it.
Yeah, the little plastic filter.
I'll have the Wisconsin cheese bites. Good day to you, sir. And today's paper, if you have it.
Did you finish your thing that you brought? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's it. I just thought it was a great
All right.
story. I love that dude.
Oh man,
You can feel however you want to about the Vietnam War, but you got to admit that's an awesome human being. That guy, and that's why I called the story "Keep It Simple, Stupid."
That guy comes back, and there isn't one ideology about war that wouldn't be proud of that guy. You know, anti-war people would love that guy. War people, because they're war people. That's what you call them, war people. Anyway,
It's
that's
just
a brilliant.
so simple.
Yeah,
It's like
I wonder if
people
there's a
have
documentary on
these
it.
like complex ways we're gonna break out. This guy's like, I don't have the energy for that. I'll just act like I'm a retard.
I can get behind what this guy's doing. Oh wow, that's amazing.
Basically became the camp like pet that was just allowed to people petting his head, throwing rice at him. Like he has to eat it off the ground, but they're like, he's like, whatever. I'm not in the cage.
And my belly's full.
Meanwhile, he's their gas tanks full of dirt.
Just the best part. You know what? He could probably even step it up a notch. And at one point, you know, they're like making fun of him or asking him if he's got a girlfriend. He could be like, I've never had sex. And they're like, oh, we're going to hook you up. Just like my experience on the drag strip when I was a kid. If he said that, he'd probably have Vietnamese women frequenting the camp. Slow man.
Because you know people got some huge cocks.
I don't know that.
Yeah, you do. You've got a huge cock.
Peanut butter flaccid.
Slow man.
Hey, wait, I
Slow man.
just caught up with your.
You ever seen Full Metal Jacket?
Yeah.
They try to get the black guy in their platoon to sleep with the hooker, and she won't because his dick's too big. She's like, no, black man too buco. Too buco. He's like,
okay, I have to ask you. I think you might be able to answer. Well, I don't know. You don't like war movies, but I think you've watched all the old war movies, like the ones, you know, Full Metal Jacket and all those. So there's this one scene, and I cannot remember which war movie it's from. The battle's happening in the forest. It's just totally noisy. You know, everything's happening. And then everything goes quiet. And it's like Rutger Hauer or somebody like that. Everything goes quiet and he goes, rock and roll. And then more noise. Do you know what movie that's from?
I don't, but it's got Rutger Hauer in it. Wasn't he in Platoon?
But I don't know if it was Rutger Hauer. It could have been any of those guys. So all I'm saying is it's just like the camera closes in on him. All of them, like the bomb stops. There's like just a millisecond of silence, and he's got his gun, and he's just like rock and roll, and then it all blows up again and goes.
That sounds like something from Apocalypse Now.
I kind of think so, but I watched all of Apocalypse Now, and I don't know. If you're listening to this and you know, send me a link to where it is or whatever. And it's a soundbite that I've got a short list of sound bites that I want to have on hand for things, and it's one I can't remember.
I do
find it
before you do your story. I know we're running on time, but I want to say that because of our conversation that we had the other day, I did rewatch Eraserhead.
Yeah,
and I don't know, man. I think that movie's like terrifying.
I know.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
I ended up having to read about it afterwards. Like, what is this even about? And apparently, it was about David Lynch's fear of being a father. Like, there's a lot of symbolism in it. And if you haven't seen Eraserhead, don't, because you're not gonna. It's unless you're like really into like artsy top films where like nothing means what it like. Eraserhead is. I don't even know. I can't even compare it to another movie.
Here's how weird it is. You watch a whole scene, the opening scene of the movie. You watch a whole scene and you're like, that was weird. And it's not until you're like 20 minutes in that you're like, oh, that whole scene at the beginning of the movie was a sex scene. And you don't know it. You don't even know it because it's so weird.
Yeah. Because it's not a sex scene.
It's not.
It's a dude in space in a cabin on a rock flying through space, pushing levers and releasing a little monster looking, what you realize then is a sperm, but it's a terrifying, it's the scariest sperm you've ever seen. And it's just a real acid trip. That's how it's an acid trip. Eraserhead's an acid trip. There's a lady that lives inside his heater in his room that sings, but she's deformed, and she stomps on sperm while she sings.
Well, she dances on a little tiny stage from the 1800s with the little lights in front.
Yeah.
Hello, my baby. Stomp, stomp, stomp. And then like he goes for dinner. He goes date night dinner at his like pseudo girlfriend's house. And like the whole trip to the house is apocalyptic war scene. It's just like the noise outside is like rah,
rah, just a lot of hissing air. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then they get there and there's little bitty chickens. That's what they're having for dinner. And I'm talking little chickens.
Chicks. It's like they cooked chicks. Oh man, even the dialogue in that movie's wacky. Like I can't believe, like you watch it and you listen to them do the dialogue and you're like, how did they get 5 people to all act this bizarre?
Yeah.
Because as an actor, there's a way to do things, but this movie doesn't make sense. Like somebody will say a line and then it just kind of pans around and shows a bunch of people and like 15 seconds later, somebody responds. It's the weirdest. It's worth seeing just so you can say, I've seen probably the trippiest movie.
I mean, watching that movie on something like acid or would be a nightmare. It would be horrifying.
Here's why I think it sticks in my head as worthy of watching. There are a lot of movies that are super try hard in trying to be weird. But this movie pulls it off or like effortlessly. Genuinely. That's what's crazy about this movie. I don't know a better way to put it.
And I don't know of another movie to compare it to, except for maybe like, I don't know of another movie. There's not another movie. Like it's just it. David, you know, if movies are art, Eraserhead is a Rorschach painting.
Yeah. I mean,
what do you want to make of it? Like, what do you see?
It's wild. It's wild. And he, like you said, he's got a meaning, but you can't decipher it from watching the movie.
Well, they've asked David Lynch what it means to him. Like, what is this fucking about? We don't even know what this is about. And he's like, well, for me, it's about my fears of being a father. But It's about whatever you want it to be about.
Yeah. And then when you process it that way, you're like, then you can come up with something in your head that you think it should be about. I don't know. It's really hard to explain. Anyway, I was trying to think of a movie that I would put it on par with as far as a confusing movie. And I think there's a movie that came out not too long ago with Rooney Mara. No. Rooney Mara was in it. I think it's called, is it Sheep or Lamb? So I think it's an A24 movie. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember. Why can't I remember? I brought it up. Anyway, you know what? And now I think about it, it's not even Rooney Mara. It's not Rooney Mara. It's the original girl with the dragon tattoo. What's her name? Oh my gosh. Why am I so bad at this?
Rooney Mara was in the dragon.
Noomi Rapace. I think Noomi Rapace, so she's the one. She was in Prometheus. She was the original girl with the dragon tattoo, the girl who played with fire. She was in Sherlock Holmes. Lamb. It was called Lamb. Weird movie. Another weird movie. If you want to upgrade from your experience with Eraserhead, go watch Lamb.
In rural Iceland, a childless couple discover a strange and unnatural newborn in their sheep barn. They decide to raise her as their own, but sinister forces are determined to return the creature to the wilderness that birthed her. That just sounds like such an A24 pitch.
It is. But it sucks you in. It does the A24 thing where you're like sitting there just staring at like a windblown field, and you're like, oh, what? And you kind of snap out of me. You're like, I've been staring at this field for 1 minute and 15 seconds.
A24 is very hit and miss with me. Like when they hit hard. It's so good. And I feel like when they miss, it's a way hard miss too.
You know which one I really like? And I'm trying to remember if it's an A24 one, was Witch.
I fucking hated that movie.
You did? See?
I hated that fucking movie so much.
Right? But that's what I'm saying is it's like like those movies either make it or they don't. The Witch. It's called The Witch. And it's got what's her name? Anna Taylor-Joy in it. And in my opinion, I liked it. It was creepy.
A lot of people love it.
Yeah, it felt like the Village from M. Night Shyamalan had a baby with that Gretel and Hansel movie.
Yeah.
And
it's shot beautifully.
The
cinematography is amazing. You could watch the movie on the cinematography alone. But
and for that, Kate Dickey's in it. Do you know Kate? Kate Dickey is always plays like the weird, the possessed woman.
Yeah.
Kate Dickey always plays not possessed, but always like the outcast woman who
Is she the witch in that movie?
She was Catherine in the movie.
Oh, I was going to say the witch in that movie is naked the entire movie. So
yeah, no, Kate's the mom.
Okay,
Kate's the mom in that one. Anyway, I don't know why I did that. We should really stick to the script. This show doesn't have one. All right, you want me to do mine?
Do it.
Guess what? I did this on 911, and some people hated it, and some people liked it. But I'm going to do mine is a cowboy poet.
Okay.
Jess hates it. Chase loves it. He's like, yay. Chase's face just turned all smiley and cherubic like the Campbell soup guy on the can. Yay. And Jess's did what Jess.
A shotgun? Is that a shotgun?
Here we go. Can you hear that?
Yes.
Is it too loud? All right, here we go.
Whoa there, partner. You're about to embark on a wild journey into the mysterious world of whales and other aquatic wonders. But before we dive in, let's make sure we have our snorkels and flippers ready. Because what you've got there is a whole ocean of scientific jargon, enough to sink even Captain Ahab's ship. So let's boil this down to something that might just fit in a podcast episode, or maybe even a miniseries for our beloved true crime enthusiasts who are listening right now. Part 1. Whale. What do we have here? 300 million years ago, mammals decided they were tired of the dry land and took a plunge into the water. It's like deciding to quit your desk job and become a podcaster in the ocean. The result? A bunch of sea-loving critters, including something called Idohyus, a distant relative of our modern whales. These mammals grew to enormous sizes in the greenhouse-infested oceans of ancient Earth. Even the blue whale's biggest cousin made an appearance back then. Part 2. Boning up on buoyancy.
Hold on, I've got to make sure my music keeps going.
Okay, it does good. Part 2. Boning up on buoyancy. Now, you can't be a water-loving mammal without adjusting your body a bit. Bone density becomes a big deal, like trying to float with weights in your pockets. Some creatures bulked up with heavy bone mass, while others went the opposite way with porous, osteoporotic-like bones, as we all know. Imagine trying to snorkel with cement flippers versus inflatable water wings. Part 3. The heavyweight champions. Some of these ancient water dwellers had bones that were the marine equivalent of heavyweight champions. The vertebrae were as inflated as a balloon at a kid's party, and some species' bones were twice as massive as a blue whale's largest vertebra. And vertebra is not a blue whale's ant, although that's a great name for an ant. Ant vertebra. We're talking about its spine. This skeleton wasn't just normal, it was extraordinary. Part 4. The beach bums and the sea cows. Here's where things get real juicy. P. Colossus. Sounds like a pro wrestler, doesn't it? P. Colossus was so heavy with bones, it probably couldn't even walk on land. It was the couch potato of the ocean, munching on seagrass or maybe crustaceans. And like the stellar sea cow, it was huge and heavy enough to withstand strong waves. No skinny dipping for this guy. Part 5. The mysterious. The mystery of P. Colossus's dining habits. What did P. Colossus eat? Was it the only vegetarian in the sea, munching on seagrass like a salad bar? Or was it gobbling up crustaceans like popcorn at a movie? We're not sure. But its slow swimming speeds and huge appetite suggest a diet fit for an oceanic glutton. Maybe it even scavenged for leftovers like a giant underwater vacuum cleaner. Part 6. Changing the tide of understanding. The unique skeletal features of P. Colossus and others reveal a lot about how marine mammals evolved to reach massive body sizes. Now, when we're talking massive body sizes, P. Colossus was bigger than anything that has ever been on Earth by twice the size. Like we're talking bigger than the blue whale.
Yeah.
Taped together with another blue whale.
Right.
With tape. They didn't need to swim fast or far. They simply thrived in their coastal habitats, filling a niche that allowed them to grow and grow. Sadly, these big guys were wiped out, leaving us with today's tiny whales and dolphins. Epilogue. Digging into the details. We want to know how scientists figured this all out. It involves bone macroanatomy, histopathology, skeletal math estimates, geological age analysis, and more. Imagine CSI, but with ancient marine fossils. Yes, it's complicated, but that's how we uncover the mysteries of the past. one layer of sediment at a time, just like trying to wipe your butt when you're a man. So there you have it, folks. A true aquatic crime story where the only victims are our expectations of what ancient mammals could be. Stay tuned for our next episode where we might just explore what happens to P. Colossus's teeth. Spoiler. Nobody knows.
And that was the evolution of Lizzo. Wondering how the
Jeremy
what?
Jeremy in the back door says, going extinct like op subscribers. You're right, Jeremy.
Chase said, everyone is supportive of Lizzo until you tell them that they look like Lizzo.
It's so true.
That's true. I hadn't thought about it. Yeah. I was like,
Yeah, it's a good.
absolutely beautiful. Oh, then you look like Lizzo. Fuck you, you piece of shit.
It's a perfect Uno card. Gotcha. So brave, Jessica Friswell says. So brave. Oh, man. Well, that's all I've got. My dad's coming in a sweet truck in just a little bit, so I should probably wander on, mosey out of here.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck just happened.
I was talking about P. Colossus, the largest animal that ever was on the earth, they
Also,
think.
your nickname
based on it.
in your early 20s.
It's the code name I use on Craigslist. I just post just the name P. Colossus and hit submit. And like, I can't keep the men and women away from my front door.
Lady approaches one of your friends that's standing next to his Huffy in a button-up white shirt at the soda bar. She's like, what's your friend over there's name? And he's like, that's P. Colossus. What's the P stand for? Penis.
Chase says penis Colossus.
Oh, man. Anyway, all right. Well, just to make it clear, I was trying to do a cowboy poem about P. Colossus, which they think is the largest animal to ever have been on the earth now.
How do you spell
the only
P.
problem
Colossus?
P, period, and then
Oh, like
Colossus.
P. Colossus. Okay.
Yeah. It looks like a giant manatee kind of. Problem that they have with it is they have the spine, and they're like, this thing was huge. This is whatever this was gigantic.
Oh, it had arms and legs too.
Yeah, they can't find its head, so they have yet to come up with what its head would look like. So that's a challenge, but
stay tuned. If we ever find its head, I'll be back with more tales while you eat your steak before you head back to your house.
No, I'll be eating it. My kids won't.
Because I ruined steak for your kids.
Yeah.
Oh, this has been 11:59 Media Neverdaily Podcast. Hugs, everybody.
Bye!